All right, real quick, I want to talk about a disaster artist. Just so you know, I own the book. And yes, Tommy Wiseau has signed and marked through my book. I have pictures with Tommy and all that fun stuff. So I'm pretty much a huge fan of The Room and Tommy Wiseau. Now, this movie, was it the great cinematic masterpiece as it could have been? We have to go back. So I read this book. This book was the culmination of just how much determination you have to get your dream to come true. But at the same time, this is what happens when not a crazy person, but someone who doesn't know what they're doing gets the means to make a movie and doesn't know what they're doing, but yet they still want to do their dream. You never see Tommy Wiseau as a villain, but at the same time, like everybody, even Greg in this book, Greg Sestero is the one who wrote it, who co-starred in the original The Room. Even him, he does bad things in this. Everybody has a good and bad side, and that's the thing. That's what makes this more real. I really love to see that Tommy Wiseau had these incidents where he were videotaping everybody. He was watching them behind their back. He knew what was being said behind his back. But at the end of the day, I loved what Greg said about Tommy. During Tommy's viewing of the movie, he looked at the man. Even though they had fights, they had this and that, he looked at the man. And Tommy was watching his own movie with stars in his eyes. He saw someone who's just achieved their goal. Who cares what everybody else thought? He was staring at this guy, reaching his goal, reaching his dream, and feeling like a star. And he always wanted to be a star. And that's the thing that I took away from this book, is sometimes you may think you're doing the right thing and you may turn into the villain, but at the same time, there has to be some kind of admiration here that even if you've become the villain, there's your goal, and you succeeded. You reached your goal. So even, I don't want this to be taken out of context at all. But say anybody even just somebody who is like a villain in a movie or something, like a killer. If they were always told that they could never do it, and they eventually do their deed, and they're like, look, I killed someone. But at the same time, it's like, oh, look, I killed all these people. It's terrible what they've done, but at the same time, you have to admire. Admiration's different than condoning. I do not condone this. But you have to admire the fact that the person went through so much to get to where they want to go. And that's what I feel about Tommy in this. You have to admire his pursuit. Now, that leads to this. So, this stars literally everybody that you know that has ever worked on a James Franco or Seth Rogen movie is in here. You know, he has his little brother and all that stuff. But, that being said, this movie, they couldn't get the rights to do this unless they changed a few of the story, changed a bit of the story, and they didn't make Tommy seem as villainous as in this book. I know this for pretty much a fact. I'm not going to say how. I'll just show credentials of different signing and stuff. But talking to people, yeah, they wouldn't allow him to do it without specific. He wouldn't allow them to do this without specific little alterations. So, that being said, I feel like now you don't have a perfect movie. You don't have the true story. And I know that there's two sides to every story, but I want to see both of these guys in the negative, because that's really what happened. That's what they said. Nobody's two-sided, or no. I'm gonna strike that. Nobody's one-sided. Everybody has both sides. Everybody has a negative and a positive. I wanted to see that, but we didn't. I mean, we did get to see the Hollywood version of these clunky, lack of a better word, morons taking on a huge undertaking. But that's not what I wanted to see. I wanted to see real life people. I wanted to see people that have both bad and good days. There was a time when in the book that Tommy was so mad that he was driving recklessly and scaring the crap out of Greg, and he was not. Tommy was crying and all of this big drama. Why didn't we get that? I wanted that. I think the biggest problem that I have with the disaster artist is I know too much. When you know too much and you know the story so well, this doesn't cut it. This would have been so good if I didn't read that and know all the other stuff. It would have been so much better. And I feel like this movie, if you're a fan of The Room and a fan of all that stuff, you're going to enjoy this. You're going to really enjoy this. But know that this is not the true story. This is the fantasy version of the true story, because there's actually a lot more darker things that happened. And if you want the more darker stuff, read the book. So I do recommend this. I mean, it's a good movie, but it's not the book. And I know people say that all the time, but truly, this is when it's kind of like, okay, it's not like they altered a whole bunch of stuff. It's just, if you wanted to know some of the... Excuse me. Am I going to do this in every single review? If you want to know the true darkness that some of these guys can have, read this. I mean, it's not that long. Look at that. Like an inch. Yeah, it's barely an inch. I mean, come on. Who can't read 268 pages? Come on. It may take you a week and a half, 3 weeks, a year. Read it. It's worth it. Watch it. It's worth it. Watch this before this. This is so good. It's totally worth it. All right?